I lit incense in the incense burner. The incense smoke did not fly upward but straight to the ground. I breathed a sigh of relief. This time the devil heard my plea, my merit was saved. Whether it's a god or a demon, they can help you answer the question. Gods only need merit, ghosts only need money. I have little merit, but I have a lot of paper money. I took out the pot from under the incense table, poured a bag of paper gold into it and burned it. I burned one bag after another, and when I burned the fifth bag, a cold wind blew, and evil spirits appeared in front of me. I stepped up to perform the ceremony. My lord, I really have something urgent to ask of you. In the death hand he held 5 cloth bags, containing gold and silver that I had just burned. I pursed my lips and sighed. You have worked hundreds of thousands of things, I won't beat around the bush anymore. My uncle is an honest person, always gentle with everyone, has never done anything bad before. Why did he pass away so early? I hope the death can answer me. Agreed, took the book of fate from his body and flipped through it. After watching for a while, his face changed. Uncle, you too have a peaceful life, you should enjoy your old age. But I don't know why my life was taken away. I know for sure. It was clear in my heart, but on the outside I still looked surprised. Why is it like this? Someone took away my life. Death wasn't fooled by me. His first reaction was not being able to speak. He blinked and wanted to speak, but then stopped. This. As you know, I can only view this destiny book, but cannot edit it. I don't even know who fixed it, what tricks they used to fix it. I'm a bit depressed. The book of fate is in the hands of death. As long as there is something to trade, they can change it. People often say that if you have money, you can force a ghost to grind a mill. The so-called borrowing of life is giving money to the devil, asking the devil to add a little to the already exhausted lifespan. If everyone adds, then there is no underworld in the underworld. So if you don't want to be discovered, usually if you add more to one person, you have to reduce the other persons, so that balance can be achieved. This death knows what's going on, but can't say anything. Because when they know who edited it, talented people will find the devil who edited it, and order him to correct it. I remained silent and said nothing, showing disappointment. Maybe the death felt that he had taken so much gold and silver from me, so he was a little afraid and whispered to me. Although I can't tell you who fixed it, I can tell you that you two did not do it voluntarily, but were tricked. Van, you haven't been home for a long time.
Fan, Duyet misses you very much.
Tun Truong Duyet's younger sister hugged my waist. The innocent look on his face, not knowing anything about life, was replaced by obsession when his father was about to die. Just like the old me, my parents both died before I knew it. At that time, the two sisters hugged me and gently told me, "Don't be afraid, Van, everything will pass, I will take care of you and protect you." I hugged my sister, caressed her head, and comforted her like my aunt and uncle had comforted me. Duyet, everything will pass, I will help you." I took out paper and scissors from my bag, cut out 2 small dolls and gave them to the two of us. "You two take this piece of paper, you can put it in a book, you can put it in your pocket, don't get it wet, always carry it with you." Even though the 2 kids didn't understand anything, they nodded, then put one in their bag and the other in their pocket. After instructing the 2 children, I entered the second uncle's room. The second uncle lying on the bed had gray hair, like a lamp that had run out of oil. The 2 girls used a towel dipped in warm water to wipe their faces. Van has come to visit you, you can leave in peace." After saying that, tears flowed down. Suddenly, the second doctor's heart rate monitor alarmed, showing that the heart rate was getting slower and slower, and the fluctuation range was getting smaller and smaller. The 2 girls cried hoarsely, but still did not forget to take their clothes out of their bags. Van, quickly come over here and help me change my children's clothes. People often say that before you die, you must put on new clothes, otherwise you won't have anything to wear when you go down. You two have always saved face, I can't let him down there and lose face. As soon as the 2 girls finished speaking, the heart rate on the machine turned into a straight line, and the shrill alarm sounded like a farewell song reminding them that life was about to end. 2 children standing nearby heard the noise and ran over. "Is Dad dead?" The girl's eyes were filled with tears, her timid expression really hurt people. I stopped at the door to comfort the two of them. It's just that the machine is broken. I need to fix it. You two go back to the room first. If you hear any noise, don't come out. The two sisters are still immersed in suffering and cannot take care of them. I quickly took out paper from my bag, cut out a doll, bit the tip of my finger, and drew a line on the doll's back. Then went next to the second uncle, bit the tip of his finger and drew the doll's eyes and nose. The two girls were surprised by my actions. Van, what are you doing? I didn't have time to explain, so I whispered in my aunt's ear. You're tricking the wrong. If you hear any noise, don't say anything. Just lie down and cry on me. The two girls didn't understand anything, but still did as I said. As soon as I finished speaking, a cold wind blew and ghosts appeared. They reached out their hands to shake, and immediately took away the paperman on the second uncle's body. As soon as the paperman touched the ground, he immediately transformed into his second uncle's appearance. The eyes and nose are like my second uncle's, but there is no mouth. Of course you can't draw a mouth for it. If you draw a mouth, the paper person who can talk will be exposed. The two death compared the fate book and led the paperman away. I quickly cut another doll, bit the tip of the girl's finger, and dripped blood onto the paper body. My two sisters, I said, I volunteered to give 1 day of my life to my sister. The two girls were shocked by my series of actions. She didn't ask any more questions and repeated what I said once. I brought the paperman and stuffed it into Uncle's hand. 3 seconds later, the heart rate monitor worked normally again, and the alarm sound turned into a heartbeat sound. The two girls looked at the heart rate monitor with disbelief on their faces. Use your hand to test your breath again. Next, kneel at my feet again. Van, thank you for saving me, thank you. Having said that, he still bowed to me. I quickly helped the two girls up. You two girls, don't be like that. The second uncle is only temporarily maintaining his life, but has not fully recovered. The two girls gradually regained their reason, wiped away the tears, and looked determined. Van, as long as I can save you two children, I will accept any price. Just now you told me to lend him my life, I agreed. Let me say it again, I can give him my entire lifespan. Uncle, calm down. Life expectancy is determined by God and cannot be changed at will. I was just reluctant to do that. Second uncle was originally supposed to enjoy his old age. His lifespan was borrowed by someone else. Just now I drew a fake paper person to trick the ghosts, but the trick didn't last long. We have to bring back second uncle's lifespan. If you guess correctly, recently my eldest uncle's family came to look for my second uncle, right? The two girls immediately nodded. That's right, your eldest uncle came to see you. I let out a sigh. Of course it is them. Dear sister, do you remember what the eldest said to the second? Borrowing this lifespan is not legitimate, so it must be done voluntarily by the lender or by the loanee's consent. Now we know that the eldest uncle borrowed his life, but you have to know who he borrowed it for. The two girls' faces were confused, as if they were recalling that day. My eldest uncle. It seems like I borrowed money from your uncle. He said something happened to Truong Ton and he needed money. My uncle and I told you to take it and use it first. There's no point in borrowing or not borrowing between brothers. But my eldest uncle insisted on returning it. I couldn't help but speak out. The eldest uncle is such a stingy person, how can he pay? You're lucky you didn't come to snatch money. To him, the lives of his family members are like stepping stones, how could he know such things? The two girls finally remembered. Oh, that's right, your eldest uncle even wrote a debt paper and made you both sign it. I have no choice but to listen and sign. I calculated in my heart for a moment. If the eldest uncle wants to borrow money for himself, he just needs to trick the second uncle into saying, agree to lend himself. If it was written on paper, I would have definitely borrowed it for Tun Truong Ton. After hearing this, the two girls became extremely angry. Now let's go find them and explain clearly. I quickly stopped the two girls who were getting angry. This job of borrowing one's lifespan is something that normal people cannot do. There must be someone helping behind the whole family's back. Sister, please stay home and take good care of us. let me handle this matter. I asked my aunt to hold an umbrella for me while I go back to the shop. I held my breath, focusing my mind, my spirit leaving my body and flying to the hospital. My cousin is in the ICU, with many types of tubes attached to him to sustain his life. His whole body was like withered grass, losing weight quickly. I took out the pre-cut paper figure, not needing to bite the tip of his finger, because his whole body was covered in blood. As soon as the paperman fell to the ground, he immediately turned into a soul exactly like my cousin. I'm waiting for the death to send me. A cold wind blew, followed by a ghost. He looked at cousin, looked suspiciously as he flipped through the fate book, and muttered in his mouth, "This person's lifespan has not yet ended, why has his soul left his body?" I took out the pre-cut piece of paper, and after dripping blood, it turned into an iron chain that directly bound the death. Death has offended you. You arbitrarily change the lifespan of mortals and disrupt order. I will definitely tell the judge today. The death struggled as hard as he could, constantly explaining, "Who can fix his lifespan? I have no milk. I have doubts in my heart." The death will either struggle and escape, or ask for forgiveness, absolutely not lie. Because whether there is a change in lifespan or not, the examining judge will immediately know. It seems there is another way to say this. I pretended not to know and continued to ask him. Tun Truong Ton's death breath is so strong, he has lost the vitality of a living person, it is already abnormal for him to be alive. The death quickly explained and forced his mouth to say, "He's still alive because someone in his family is setting up an array and accumulating merit on him, so he can maintain his life." I became even more suspicious. Tun Truong Ton's entire family has done many evil things, how can they have merit? So who borrowed our uncle's lifespan? The death knew he had said something wrong, so he didn't continue to argue with me. He took advantage of me not paying attention, escaped the chain, turned into a gust of wind and disappeared. I don't have time to care about death. There is only one question in my heart. Second uncle's longevity is not on Tun Truong Ton's body, so who did he borrow it from? I leisurely returned to the store and saw the two girls walking around in front of the store. I breathed a sigh of relief. Maybe her bad luck has lessened a bit, she hasn't seen my shop anymore. I threw the red umbrella out. Seeing the red umbrella, the two girls quickly opened the umbrella and stood in front of the door. I walked to the umbrella and smiled at my aunt and my sister. "You two girls, you're so smart." I didn't know how to explain to my aunt and uncle what happened to me, and why I could only hide under the red umbrella. While I was still troubled by this matter, my aunt's worried voice interrupted my thoughts. "Van Van and Tun Truong Lak took your two younger siblings away." I bit the tip of my finger and dabbed blood on my sister's eyelids. "Uncle, follow me here." The two girls smoothly followed me into the store. "Don't be in a hurry. I left paper people on Truong Duyet and Truong Van, let's see where they are." I send myths, put my soul into the pages of Truong Duyet. When I opened my eyes were as black as ink. Truong Duyet's papers are kept in a briefcase. I used all my strength to get my fragile form out of that heavy bag. On a deserted road, there are many machines around. If I remember correctly, this is definitely the way to the food factory. Two shoes were placed next to the road, there were still traces of the car running over them. I was lost again and entered another page. Open your eyes again and see the light. I am in Truong Van's uniform pocket. I listened carefully, the person sitting next to me crying was Truong Duyet. "Don't go anymore. It's so annoying." Truong Browse was so scared that he couldn't help but sob in a small voice. I nestled into Truong Van's pocket and gently pushed my head out. Only saw the eldest uncle, aunt and Tun Truong Lak. The three of them were kneeling on the ground without raising their heads. In front of them was an old man sitting glaring. The old man was wearing a white robe, his eyebrows and AI were both long, and his face was kind, like a grandfather. Tun Truong Lak looked surprised. "Master, I have brought their two children to you, may I ask when will work be allowed? My brother at the hospital is no longer waiting." The old man continued chanting. "Last time, you used my second uncle's lifespan to advocate for the whole family. This time, You want to use the longer lifespan of my two younger cousins to maintain my life. Do you know that these two jobs are both against God's will, and the sin is very great? Tun Truong Lak raised his head and looked at his aunt. His Orton had a pleading look. Truong Lak, please save your brother. If you lose your brother, then when your father and I die, there will be no one to take care of you. Tun Truong Lak's momentum suddenly weakened. Master, we still decided to save brother. The old man chuckled. This time, who will take responsibility for the crime? Your aunt's face is beautiful. If last time it was Truong Lak's fault, then this time it's also his fault. Before the old man could speak, Tun Truong Lak did not agree. She got up and turned towards her aunt. Mom, I suffered last time. Why am I also suffering this time? Do you finally have me in your heart? The aunt's eyes avoided and he said, but last time wasn't there no problem, you have a lot of money, this time there will definitely be no problem. Tun Truong Lak said with a sweet voice, whatever happens, the consequences are unimaginable. The aunt didn't say anything, didn't even look directly at her. Tun Truong Lak looked at her aunt. Dad, this time it's your turn. When the eldest uncle heard Tun Truong Lak talking about him, he suddenly took a step back. I am the breadwinner of the family, nothing can happen to me. Besides, having your brother is also good for you in the future. Tun Truong Lak is truly helpless. If it weren't for you trying your best to find your master and worship him, our whole family would be finished. If you two don't want to suffer this crime, I will take the two small children back. My brother's wound is so severe that it also seals his fate. If he dies, I will take care of you two in the future. Uncle and uncle were both silent. Tun Truong Lak stood up and walked towards the two children. I rushed back into the bag. She was preparing to lock the two children, when the old man spoke again. The two kids have also brought them here. Can they return their thoughts to escape? Tun Truong Lak stopped, his teeth faded. The old man said again, these two children are still young and have a lot of life expectancy. Last time, the lifespan of my uncle and I was divided in half by me. This time, I will take 2/3 of the lifespan of my two children. Please endure this so that your parents can each bear half. My aunt wanted to speak out against it. The old man had an unhappy look on his face and made a huss sound, but the aunt didn't speak up even more. Tun Truong Lak left. I continued to exit. Watching the old man take a piece of black wood from his lap and throw it on the ground. This is agarwood, 3 people burned it, then found dry wood to make a fire, hung these 2 little animals on the fire. Hearing this, I don't relax anymore. After my soul returned, my armpits smelled. My 2 sisters, Truong Duyet and Truong Van, are at your parents' product factory. I need to hurry and call the police. Then go back home and find someone to take you to the grocery store, quickly. After hearing me leave, I went to the incense table to light the incense. Upwardly honor gods and Buddhas, below honor ghosts, donate merit, help me exorcise demons. The incense smoke flew to the ground, a breeze blew and then the ghosts. I pay. My lord, this matter doesn't bother you, I'll invite you again. What I want to invite is not a devil, but a god. That old man uses evil magic, and ordinary ghosts are not strong enough to deal with him. I continued to appease 3 times in a row, but the ones invited were all deather. If I could sweat, I would definitely be covered in sweat right now. It can't last any longer. Although agarwood doesn't burn easily, it can burn for about half an hour. I returned the tooth, cut off the tip of my finger, used the blood to smear on the incense stick, and returned the flowers again. Use my blood, please respect God, God Buddha, sacrifice to me, help me exorcise demons. This time, gently like a dove flying into the sky, a stream of jade light appeared in front of him. Girl, why are you calling me? I immediately knelt down. Disciple asks for peace, master. I really unintentionally bother you. It's just that this job is related to the lives of my relatives. Moreover, it's a demon that harms people. It's against the will of heaven. I respect my ancestors. Master, help me exorcise evil spirits. As desired. The soaring sound of the clock chimes, a little light shines on the paper on the incense table. I quickly picked up the paper, used my strength to open the red umbrella, and walked out the door. I quickly called the car parked on the side of the road and quickly got into the car. No matter how fast I was, the handle of the red parachute turned my hand into a black patch. I don't care about that trace. Make money as a driver to quickly get to the food factory. When we arrived at the factory, the police and my aunt and uncle had already arrived. Seeing that I didn't get out of the car, the two girls quickly went to the car to pick me up. She held an umbrella and took me to the police. Danger warning. Are you sure the two little children are inside? I'm sure. The two girls stepped forward to explain. That's right, there are tracking devices in the two children's smartwatches, the main security enhancement warning. We will quickly surround this place. They have hostages in their hands. Negotiation experts will arrive very soon. Rest assured, family members. After the police left, I asked in a low voice, Auntie, will you let me have my strength? The two girls nodded. Already left it in the backyard. My aunt and I used the excuse that we weren't feeling well and wanted to get in the car to rest. In fact, we asked our aunt to drive around to the backyard. The backyard is private, normally it is locked, outsiders are not allowed in, but at some point I make a paper multifunction key and give it to my aunt and uncle. I asked the two girls to stand in the yard and keep a light watch for the second uncle, then went in alone from the back door. As expected, Tun Truong Lak burned the agarwood log, and is currently using firewood for dry firewood. As soon as I walked in, they robbed me.
Ton.
Van, why are you here? Tun Truong Lak, like a ghost, ran straight towards that old man. Master, it is a ghost except for my family, no one else can see it. Uncle and aunt saw me and also ran towards that old man in fear. The old lady even shouted. They're all the servants of the factory, they cursed the whole family to love me, and they loved me so they had to come to this point. Then turned to the old white man. Master, let him accept this betrayal. It is a gift from us, and there is also a relationship between us. I walked forward, next to Truong Duyet and Truong Van. My two small children found me, greatly unjustly. I stroked the head and comforted the two children. Truong Duyet Truong Van Zigzag, I have come to love you. I just compressed it for two children. A demonic aura entered in front of me. I did not dodge. The heavy demonic aura was like a gust of wind passing through my body. The old man raised his voice. Mao Mountain Technique?
Paperman.
Exciting, thrilling, the first time I saw a Paperman alive. I closed it tight for the two kids, then relaxed it. Get out quickly, your parents are outside the door. As soon as Truong Van Truong Duyet ran to the door, a burst of energy closed the door. This is my favorite thing, how can I let it go so easily? I threw two Papermen out to protect the two small children, looked around to evaluate the formation he presented in the house, and it turned out that this was the formation that would change the fortunes of the whole family. The old man's voice was a bit lazy, clearly different from his appearance. Even though you practice evil magic, you certainly know about cause and effect and retribution, repeating it over and over again. You usurp someone else's lifespan like that, then transfer it to yourself, you are doing something against the will of heaven, you must be punished. The old man laughed. Stealing someone else's age, will you be punished? But we do not violate the law of cause and effect. It's true that I stole other people's lives, but the person who is responsible for the crime is my eldest uncle, my cousin. What does it have to do with me? After speaking, his eyes lit up. In vain we keep trying to find ways to increase our lifespan, but we never think about work if we are like a paper person. It's okay, if this person is bad then change to someone else, we can change our appearance to look like anyone else, right? Is it more beautiful? The black gas in his hand moved, so thick that it was similar to a black puddle that could cause people to enter. Come here, come to my place, let me study carefully and see how it is made. I pretended that he was dead and walked forward, reaching out to take out the most important paper from my pocket. How to do it? Of course it's made from bamboo sticks and paper. As I said that, I processed the paper. The paperman carried a purple-yellow light and walked straight towards the old man. The true body rejoices. You can actually invite the Mao Shan Sect's ancestral master. Who is it in the end? The golden light continuously sprayed dark mist, until it illuminated the whole house. Who am I? I am the Paperman made of bamboo. 1. With the old man's answer, after just a few seconds his body finally turned into a black skeleton. Next, countless lights shined from his body, flying in all 4 directions similar to fireflies. It was probably the longevity that he had obtained from someone else. In the end, it seemed like his body couldn't support it anymore, began to crack, and then turned into a pile of black ash. Blue flames burned black ash, burning the clothes of the eldest uncle and aunt who were at the edge. They used their hands to put out the fire, but rolling back and forth on the bare ground couldn't put it out. In just a moment the blue fire burned them all. Help.
Van, love me.
Van, you're the one who pulled me out, love you. They rolled closer to me, I weakly dodged, then turned and ran out the door. Outside the door, the second uncle who had his life restored had also regained consciousness, sitting down to drink and comfort his 2 generous girlfriends. Seeing me being followed by 2 fire sprinklers, the second uncle tried to sit up and pull me back to protect me. The fire had burned all over their bodies, 2 miserable figures were rolling on the ground, constantly calling for help. The second uncle saw that it was not small, so he turned back to negotiate softly with me. Van, after all, he is your uncle. How about you save them? The police are outside. They can't escape. My voice is a bit weak. Second uncle, this is the fire of rebellion, I can't save them. Still my aunt and uncle noticed the slight surprise in my voice. After carefully observing me, they discovered that my legs were on fire. The logs made from bamboo burned and made a popping sound. The doctor took 2 steps back in fear, remembering that it was me, seamlessly outside the protective layers on my body. Don't be afraid, Van, I'm here to love you. They were still so gentle. Even though I was a scary paper person, they still tried to save me. Don't waste your effort anymore, this fire will spread to your whole family when it reaches my feet. It can't be extinguished. The 2 girls kept coming back, their voices low and noisy. Van, thank you for loving your second uncle. The second uncle heard me say that the fire on my body was spread to the eldest uncle. It was a slight mistake, so don't mention them anymore. When your base. How did it become like that? The fire reached my knees and I fell to the ground. Second uncle, as you can see, I'm just a paper person. Actually, that year my parents had an accident and I died with them. The victim was so fat, how could the rest of them survive? Grandpa couldn't bear to see his child die, so he saved him. My grandfather is a descendant of the Mao Shan sect and is also a very good papermaker. He made a very spiritual paperman, then put my soul into it, and then used the Mao Shan technique to transform a normal human. That's why my grandfather didn't go to any uncle's house to take care of his old age, all because he was keeping a low watch so that he wouldn't be discovered. The second uncle's revenge was full of mistakes, and the second uncle's eyes were also red. Second uncle, it's not that I'm cold-hearted and don't value family relationships. But the eldest uncle created too much karma. This is God's punishment for him. You know, my parents' accident was not an accident, but someone who caused harm. That year, my father just told me not to let my cousin drink too much Coke for fear of tooth decay, but my cousin brought an empty can of Coke and put it under the brake of my father's car. The car's brakes are not working properly, causing the accident. After that, I secretly asked someone to take the empty can out of the car, and then hid this matter. The death of your parents is considered to be due to a normal traffic accident. Uncle Two's sweet voice. So, my cousin was driving and something happened, it was me. Of course not. I responded. I'm a paper person, I only live by doing magic, I accumulate merit but I don't pay for it, so how can I do such immoral things? No matter what happens, there is cause and effect. If your parents and children die in an accident, your friendliness will also be lost in an accident. And about you. Mr. Gmail got into gambling and earned a lot of money. This food factory also lost to him. After Grandpa found out about it, he immediately forced him to sell the house to save money from this factory for me. Of course, my eldest uncle refused and immediately had a big argument with Grandpa. Grandpa was so angry that his heart attack relapsed, but he clearly left him at home and didn't call an ambulance. He watched on as Grandpa passed away in the house. When my grandfather passed away, my eldest uncle was given some money to pay off his gambling debts, and then used the remaining money to continue gambling. Heh, second uncle, look, in the past, my grandfather had a heart attack and no one looked into it. Is it like you and your aunt now, lying on the ground and no one to save you? If you raise your head 3 meters away, there will be a God. People who do evil deeds will receive results. The second uncle was so surprised that he couldn't speak. Replied, full of hatred, pointing at him, stomping his feet and shedding tears. My aunt and uncle wanted to help me but didn't know how. Tears fell from her eyes full of pity. Van, but you didn't do anything, you're still a child, why are you like this? I wanted to reach out and wipe away my aunt and uncle's tears, but the fire had already reached my arms and my neck. I used the last bit of my strength to reveal a smile to my aunt and uncle. Auntie, I was created by magic. I am neither a human nor a ghost. I have already violated God's will. No matter how I disappear, this is something I have to endure. As soon as I said this sentence, my eyes were covered by that blue fire. Van, I don't come into this house. I've been here several times. I also don't ask for a red umbrella. The two of you recovered very well. Not much different from before. It's just that your whole body seemed to have been drained of all vitality. You no longer had the same spirit as before. My eldest uncle and aunt died. When the warning came, there was no way to fight the fire. They died for an hour. Tun Truong Lak was arrested for kidnapping, but he saw with his own eyes his parents burned to death, scratched to the point of insanity, and has now been taken to a mental hospital. Tun Truong Ton died today. We don't have confirmation. The hospital will definitely consider it as derelict and then collect it and cremate it. Van, I only have you as a relative. If you can come back, I hope you can come visit us. The two girls left some pastries in front of the leafy door, pampered them for a while, and finally left with regret. I am in newspaper engine control leaf as my base. Nu was constantly talking on the edge of her mouth. Van, why is there a piece of bamboo missing from this place? It's not the same as before. I use environment. My previous body was made by my grandfather, of course it had to be spiritually beautiful.
Enhu mada a Pete sound.
Not sure yet, I think you're a little more beautiful than me with a small waist. I laughed out loud. A few less bamboo sticks means a few less pieces of paper, so we can continue to do the work of accumulating merit. For your merit, I gave the entire set to the patriarch. I will make a new base, continue to survive. But I won't meet my second uncle's family, and I hope they won't see me anymore.